start with a deep understanding of data to build sustainable financial markets. Environmental risk assessment has fast-tracked its way into the financial mainstream. At the dawn of mandatory sustainability reporting, regulators remain challenged by information asymmetry. As Frank Elderson concluded at this year's Green Swan conference, collecting consistent and comparable climate data linked to economic activities is vital. To navigate the troubled waters of environmental risks, regulators and markets alike must adopt a common understanding of environmental data. Bridging the three-way relation between policy, data and technology in the financial sector, P.S.A focuses on building the trust in data between regulators and financial entities. This trust, however, is equally important for financial and non-financial data, such as ESG. So far, the comparability and reliability of environmental data does not have a strong foothold. With Project Sunrise, we are able to link policy, technology, and ultimately data to lay the foundation for trust in environmental and climate disclosure. Through Project Sunrise, sustainability data requirements can be shaped in a consistent, transparent, and standardized way by providing a common standard for reporting environmental data and thereby building the green economy. We can tackle the challenges faced by regulators and further down the road by financial institutions. Low level of trust in the information reported by companies due to inconsistent classifications of ESG data across countries and gaps both in methodology and data quality, as well as insufficient granular data to measure environmental impact, and the lack of a solid link to UN Sustainable Development Goals and the EU taxonomy are the obstacles we strongly believe that with the Project Sunrise we can overcome. Regulators are faced with creating an environmental reporting frameworks and ultimately with being able to disclose results of their green analyses using transparent, reliable, and comparable data. Therefore, regulators need to support the transition towards sustainability by establishing green-friendly policies. Consistent data is the starting point for developing trust in green economy. Our solution allows to turn even the most complex datasets into easy-to-analyze, harmonized and standardized reports. An in-depth understanding of the environmental data submitted by financial institutions is what regulators desire for, and such insight can be achieved through Atomi Matter. Let us present an example on how this platform can be used to resolve some of the challenges that regulators face in this context.
As a financial regulator, I wanted to support the transition to sustainable economy by creating green policies and incentives for the financial sector. But to understand the current situation, first, I had to collect granular and verifiable data on sustainable activities and analyze it to implement proper policies. For the purpose of G20 Tech Sprint 2021, together with financial institutions, I created a model allowing me to do so. Using international standards, I created data classifications for sustainability reporting. These classifications were further used when creating granular data reporting tables for the banking sector. I asked the banks in my jurisdiction to report on loans and advances in the context of their environmental impact and their alignment with EU taxonomy, UN Sustainable Development Goals, and related greenhouse gas emissions. I requested information using international standards and instructions such as legal entity identifier for counterparty identification, and NACE codes for classification of economic sectors. I wanted to analyze whether these loans were compliant with EU taxonomy and UN SDGs, as well as with the information on related emissions. They were also reported in aggregated form with information on economic sectors associated with the amount of granted loans and their maturity. I also collected information on interest rates and the amount of non-performing loans. Finally, I embedded validation rules to check the accuracy of reported information. To give an example, I requested banks to have at least 20% of their loan portfolio classified as green. Any reporting bank that doesn't meet this threshold in the nearest future will be informed that this needs improving. After collecting reports from our banking sector, they were analyzed, and this is what we've learned. As a German regulator, I am interested in my jurisdiction. Looking at this information, I can see that banks in Germany mainly finance activities in Slovakia and Austria, and still, majority of all loans and advances are classified as brown, which is not in line with UN SDGs. We will try to change it in the nearest future. Looking here, I can see the breakdown of loans and advances related to SDGs. For instance, ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns seems to be the target behind most loans. Taking a more detailed view, we can see the NACE codes which stand behind these loans. Comparing the probability of insolvency between SME and non-SME loan takers, it is visible that although for green loans it is lower in both types of institutions, it is higher in the SME sector. If this appears to be problematic, it may be advisable to consider a discussion with the banking sector on how to address higher default probability in the SME sector. In addition, when comparing interest rates between green and brown loans, it becomes clear that green loans have lower interest rates. This should lead to more loans classified as green in the foreseeable future. To draw further conclusions, these datasets should be compared in subsequent reporting periods. Using received datasets, I prepared predictive scenarios to assess the impact of such factors as interest rates, subsidies, or greenhouse gas emission prices on the loans and advances. Analyzing the interest rate scenario, it can be observed that a 1% drop for loans classified as green can reduce the expected default probability by more than 0.3%, while increasing the total value of green loans in the coming years. Finally, using the same datasets, we can compare the discrepancies in the EU and national sustainability classifications. For example, there are over 30 more loans classified as green according to national standards than by EU taxonomy classifications. This leads to the conclusion that national standards are less demanding and are not properly aligned with EU guidelines.
The analyses presented here would not be possible but for the granular data models developed in the Atomi Matter platform. And this is just the beginning.